The Silent Guest. The hotel lobby was warm with golden lights, the sound of soft piano music floating in the air. Guests moved in and out, their luggage wheels clicking on the marble floor. Staff in clean uniforms stood behind the reception desk, smiling politely at every guest. Well, almost every guest. In the middle of the lobby stood a man, tall, well-dressed, his suit dark and perfectly tailored. His shoes shone like black glass. His wristwatch sparkled under the chandelier light, but his face carried something different: frustration, worry, and a strange kind of urgency. He spoke quickly in Mandarin, his voice firm but not angry. The words came out like a rushing stream, yet no one understood him. The receptionist blinked, gave an awkward smile, and replied in English, "Sir, I don't understand." The man tried again, his voice louder this time, his hands making small, sharp gestures. But it was no use. The staff looked at each other, helpless. A few guests in the lobby began to whisper. Some giggled softly, thinking the man was just another impatient, rich tourist. But if they had listened carefully, they would have heard something else in his tone: fear. This was not the voice of a man complaining about his room. This was the voice of a man trying to send an important message. The millionaire, because it was clear from his clothes and presence that he was a man of wealth, looked around. His eyes moved from one staff member to another, searching for a sign of understanding, but all he met were blank faces. One waiter shrugged, another walked away pretending to be busy. Even the manager, a tall man with a polished smile, avoided his eyes and moved toward another group of guests. The Chinese man's jaw tightened. He pulled out his phone, tried typing something into a translation app, but the app froze, spinning endlessly. He cursed softly under his breath in Madame Solonti Sambainti Mandarin, the frustration now clear on his face. Some guests glanced at him again, but no one came forward. In the far corner of the lobby, near a polished wooden cart of cleaning supplies, stood Maria. She was wearing the plain brown uniform of the hotel cleaning staff. Her gloved hands held a white cloth, slowly polishing the corner of a glass table. From where she stood, she could see everything: the rich guests, the ignoring staff, and the man in the center of it all. She had been in this job for 3 years, and she had seen many rich guests before, but something about this man's eyes made her pause. They were sharp, but desperate, like a person calling for help in a language nobody understood. Maria tilted her head slightly. The words he spoke, they weren't just noise to her, she understood them, every single one. The tones, the rhythm, the urgency. It was Mandarin. Memories flashed in her mind. Years ago, she had been a student in Beijing, learning the language for her studies. Her father had once told her, "One day, this gift will open a door you never knew existed." Now, here in this golden-lit lobby, that day might have arrived. She glanced at the other staff. They were busy pretending the man wasn't there. No one cared enough to even try to help him. Maria's grip tightened on the cleaning cloth. She took a deep breath, feeling her heartbeat quicken. The millionaire was now standing still, shoulders tense. He looked like a man who had reached the edge of his patience. His eyes scanned the lobby again, then paused, locking onto Maria. For a brief moment, neither moved. Maria took one step forward, then another, her soft shoes making almost no sound on the marble. The other staff noticed her movement. Some frowned. Maids were not supposed to approach VIP guests unless called, but Maria didn't stop. When she reached him, she gave a small, polite bow. Then, in perfect Mandarin, she said quietly, "Sir, may I help you?" The change on his face was instant. Surprise, then relief, then something like hope flickered in his eyes. He leaned closer, speaking quickly in Mandarin. Maria nodded, her expression calm but her mind racing. Whatever he was saying, it was serious, and it was about to pull both of them into something much bigger than the quiet walls of this hotel, the Maid's secret. The moment Maria spoke Mandarin, the entire lobby seemed to pause. The piano music played on, but the air felt heavier. Guests turned their heads, staff froze in mid-step, and the millionaire stared at her like she had just stepped out of a dream. He answered her in rapid Mandarin, words flowing like water, his tone urgent. Maria nodded slowly, her eyes scanning the lobby as if making sure no one else could hear. "Please," he said in Mandarin, "I need help. Something has been stolen from me." His voice shook, not from weakness, but from the weight of the matter. Maria's heart beat faster. For 3 years she had kept this secret. Her ability to speak Mandarin fluently, no one in the hotel knew, not even the manager. It was a skill she had learned far away from here during her time in Beijing as a university exchange student. Back then she had walked the busy streets, learned to order tea, read signs, and laugh with her classmates in another world. Her father had been proud, telling her, "Never waste what you have learned, Maria. One day, it will matter." Now she could feel that one day pressing against her. She glanced over her shoulder. Already 2 receptionists were whispering. She could almost read their lips, wondering why the maid was speaking to a rich guest. Ignoring them, Maria focused on the man. "Follow me," she whispered in Mandarin. The millionaire hesitated for only a moment before stepping closer. Maria led him away from the main lobby toward the staff corridor. Her movements were callous. But inside, her mind was sharp and alert. If the wrong person overheard them, things could turn dangerous. Once inside the narrow hallway, away from the guests, the man lowered his voice. "My passport, my documents, and a jade box have been stolen," he said. "That jade box is worth more than money. It is my family's history." Maria frowned, sensing the depth of his worry. He explained that he had checked into the hotel the night before and everything was fine until this morning. When he returned to his room after breakfast, the safe was empty. "Did you tell the hotel manager?" Maria asked. "Yes," he replied, "but he acted as if I was lying. He told me to wait until tomorrow for an investigation." Maria's eyes narrowed. She had seen this before. When rich foreign guests lost something valuable, the hotel sometimes stalled the matter, hoping it would disappear quietly. "What's your name?" she asked softly. "Li Wei," he answered. "And you?" "Maria," she said. "Maria Johnson." Li Wei looked at her for a moment as if studying her face. "Maria," he said in a low tone, "I believe someone inside this hotel is part of it." Her stomach tightened. She knew the hotel had a few bad people, staff who worked with outsiders for quick money, but this was bigger. Maria made a decision in that moment. She could walk away and pretend she had never heard his words, or she could use the one skill no one knew she had. She chose the second. "Come with me," she said. They moved deeper into the service area, past laundry rooms and storage closets. The sound of rolling carts and clinking dishes faded as they reached the old staff lockers at the back. Maria stopped in front of a dull metal door and looked at him. "Do you trust me?" she asked. Li Wei didn't hesitate. "Yes." She opened the door. Inside were rows of lockers, some half open, others locked with cheap padlocks. Maria walked to the third one from the left. It belonged to a night shift cleaner she had always found suspicious. She bent down, slipped a thin piece of metal from her pocket, and with a quick flick, the lock opened. When the locker door creaked open, Li Wei's breath caught in his throat. There, sitting on the top shelf, was a small carved piece of jade, green as deep forest and shining under the dim light. Maria reached up and held it out to him. Li Wei's eyes went wide. "This is from my box," he said quietly. "This means they still have the rest." Maria's jaw tightened. She didn't know exactly who they were yet, but she knew one thing. The moment she spoke Mandarin to Li Wei, her life had changed. And now there was no turning back. The urgent request. Maria held the jade piece in her hand, its cool surface pressing against her palm. Li Wei's eyes stayed locked on it, his breathing shallow. "That jade," he whispered, "is part of my family's treasure." He spoke the next words in a low, urgent tone. "Maria, I must get the rest back before nightfall. If I don't, it will be gone forever." The hallway felt narrower, the air heavier. Maria glanced toward the end of the corridor, where shadows stretched across the walls. "Why nightfall?" she asked, her voice quiet. Li Wei's eyes darted left and right as if afraid someone might be listening. "They will sell it tonight," he said. "The buyer will take it out of the country before morning." Maria felt a chill run through her spine. She had worked in this hotel long enough to know that some dirty deals happened behind its polished walls. But this was different. This was bigger, faster, and more dangerous than she had imagined. "I can't go to the police," Li Wei continued. "The people involved, they have friends in high place." Maria understood immediately. This wasn't just a petty theft. This was a network, and getting caught in it could ruin lives. She looked at the jade again, its smooth green surface catching the dim light. It wasn't just money, it was history. What else was inside the box, she asked. Li Wei's voice softened. A letter written by my great-grandfather, and a key. No one knows what it opens, but my family has guarded it for generations. Her mind began to race. If they found the locker with one jade piece, the rest must be close by, but time was running out. Every minute they waited was a minute closer to the deal being completed. Li Wei stepped closer, lowering his voice even more. Maria, you are the only person I can trust here. The weight of his words pressed on her. For a moment she thought about her own life, her small apartment, her long hours, the way most people in this place barely noticed her. Now here she was, standing next to a millionaire who had chosen her as his only ally. What do you need me to do, she asked. He looked straight into her eyes. I need you to help me find the rest of the jade box, tonight. Maria took a deep breath. She knew saying yes could bring trouble, serious trouble, but the thought of walking away while knowing someone was about to steal a man's heritage made her stomach twist. She nodded once. All right, let's find it. Li Wei's relief was visible, but so was the tension in his face. We must start in the basement, he said. That is where they hide things before moving them out. Maria's pulse quickened. The basement, cold, dim, and rarely visited except by certain staff, was the kind of place where secrets could hide for years. She had only been there a few times, and each time it had felt like stepping into another world. They moved quickly down the staff corridor, Maria leading the way. She knew how to avoid the security cameras, which corners to take, and which doors to use so the main manager wouldn't see them. Each step echoed softly in the narrow passage. At one point, they passed two bellboys, who looked up but didn't stop them. When they reached the old metal stairwell to the basement, Li Wei paused. Are you sure about this? He asked. Maria looked back at him, her eyes steady. I've never been more sure, she said. The basement door groaned as Maria pushed it open. A wave of cold, dusty air rushed past them. Dim yellow lights flickered overhead, casting long shadows over stacks of old crates and forgotten furniture. It smelled of rust and damp concrete. Li Wei followed close behind, his eyes scanning every dark corner. They walked deeper, weaving between piles of boxes wrapped in plastic. Maria's ears caught faint sounds, footsteps, somewhere ahead. She raised a hand, signaling him to stop. From behind a tall stack of crates, voices murmured in low tones. She couldn't make out the words, but the rhythm was tense. Li Wei leaned closer to her ear, whispering in Mandarin. That's them. Maria's eyes narrowed. If this was truly the group holding his treasure, they were just steps away. But before she could decide what to do, a loud metallic sound echoed through the room. The basement door had slammed shut behind them. The hidden enemy. The slam of the basement door echoed like a warning. Maria spun around, her eyes fixed on the top of the stairs. No one was there, but the sound of a turning key reached her ears. Someone had locked them in. Li Wei's jaw tightened. They know we're here, he said quietly, his voice steady, but his eyes alert. Maria's fingers curled into fists. This wasn't just bad luck. Someone had been watching them. From the far end of the basement, the muffled voices grew clearer. 3 men stepped into view, their shadows stretching across the concrete floor. The one in front was tall, wearing a hotel security jacket. His smile was thin, but his eyes were cold. Well, well, he said in English, his tone mocking. The maid and the foreigner, wandering where they don't belong. Maria didn't move. Li Wei's gaze stayed fixed on the jade piece in his pocket. The guard's eyes flickered toward it. Looking for something? He asked, his voice low. Behind him, the other 2 men stood like walls, broad shoulders, hands tucked into their jackets. One of them shifted slightly, and Maria noticed the outline of something hard and heavy in his pocket. Not good, she thought. Li Wei stepped forward, speaking in Mandarin. Maria caught the words, sharp, accusing, filled with anger. The guard frowned, clearly not understanding. Maria translated quickly, her voice calm. He says you've taken what belongs to him and he wants it back. The guard chuckled. If I were you, I'd forget about that box. Maria tilted her head. And why is that? His smile widened. Because if you don't, neither of you will leave this basement. For a moment, the room felt frozen. Maria's mind raced. There were no cameras here, no witnesses. If they made a wrong move, they could disappear without anyone asking questions. She took a slow step forward, keeping her tone casual. You think locking us here will stop us? She asked. The guard raised an eyebrow, clearly not expecting her to sound so sure. Li Wei's hand moved slightly, pressing against his wristwatch. Maria caught it. Just a small, quick motion. She realized he must have some way to send a signal. She kept talking to buy him time. You're making a mistake, she said. The guard laughed. No, Maid. The mistake is yours. He gestured to one of the men who disappeared into the shadows. Maria's instincts screamed. Whatever he went to fetch wasn't good. She exchanged a glance with Li Wei. His eyes said everything. We have to move now. Without warning, Maria reached for a nearby crate and tipped it over. It crashed to the floor, spilling metal tools in all directions. The sudden noise made the guard flinch. Li Wei grabbed Maria's arm, pulling her toward the far corner of the basement. The guard shouted, footsteps pounding behind them. Maria and Li Wei darted between crates, searching for any exit. Her heart hammered in her chest. That was when she saw it. A small, rusted metal door half hidden behind a stack of wooden pallets. She yanked at the handle. It was stuck. Li Wei joined her, shoving it with all his strength. The hinges groaned. Behind them, the guard's voice grew louder. Stop them! The door gave way with a loud screech. Cold night air rushed in, carrying the smell of the street. But as they stepped out, Maria realized this wasn't over. Because just across the alley, a black van sat with its engine running, and inside, someone was watching them. The race against time. The cold night air hit Maria's face like a slap. She blinked, her eyes adjusting to the dim alley light. Li Wei's breath came in short bursts beside her. The black van across the street sat like a predator waiting for its prey, its engine humming softly. The side window rolled down, and a pair of eyes glinted from the darkness inside. Maria felt her stomach tighten. This wasn't random. The van was here for them. Li Wei took one step back, his voice low. They're moving the Jade tonight. From behind, the basement door banged open. The guard's voice thundered in the alley. Don't let them get away. Heavy footsteps followed, echoing off the wet pavement. Maria grabbed Li Wei's arm. Move! They darted down the alley, their shoes splashing through shallow puddles. The van's engine roared, tires screeching as it pulled forward. It was coming after them. The narrow street split in two ahead. One path led toward the bright main road, the other toward the dark back lanes of the city. Maria knew if they went toward the main road, they'd be visible, but also easier to corner. She pulled Li Wei toward the darker path. This way, she hissed. They ran past dumpsters and old brick wall CDs. Hulls covered in peeling posters. The van struggled to follow, its tires squealing against the tight turns. Still, the sound of the engine stayed close behind. Maria's heart pounded. She had never been chased like this before, but her mind was clear. Keep moving, keep finding cover. Li Wei's voice was urgent. The buyers' meeting is at the docks, at midnight. Maria glanced at him. And what time is it now? He checked his watch. 30 minutes. 30 minutes. And the jade box and everything in it would vanish forever. Maria forced herself to push harder, her legs burning as they turned another corner. But this time the path ended in a chain-link fence. She skidded to a stop. The van's headlights swung into the alley behind them, the bright beams cutting through the dark. There was no time to think. Maria grabbed the fence and started to climb, her fingers gripping the cold metal. Li Wei followed quickly. Halfway up, she heard the sound of a van door slamming and boots hitting the ground. Go, go, she urged. They dropped to the other side and landed hard. Her knees stung, but she kept running, pulling Li Wei into another side street. Finally, they reached a busy road filled with taxis, food stalls, and late-night pedestrians. The noise and light gave them some cover. Maria spotted a yellow taxi idling near a noodle stand. She waved frantically. The driver looked confused, but when Li Wei pulled out a thick roll of cash, the door unlocked instantly. Docks, Maria said breathlessly. Fast. The driver nodded and slammed his foot on the accelerator. The city lights blurred past as the taxi wove through traffic. In the side mirror, Maria caught a glimpse of the black van turning onto the road behind them. They weren't safe yet. Inside the taxi, Li Wei pulled out the small jade piece again, turning it in his fingers. His voice was low, almost a whisper. Maria, my family has kept this for over 100 years. If we lose it, we lose everything. Maria looked at him, her eyes steady. Then we don't lose it, she said. We take it back. The driver sped toward the docks, but as the salty air of the harbor began to fill the car, Maria saw the glow of headlights in the rearview mirror growing brighter. The black van was still coming, closer than before. The revelation. The taxi screeched to a stop at the edge of the docks. The night air was sharp with the smell of salt and oil. Ships loomed like dark giants in the water, their masts swaying against the moonlit sky. Maria stepped out first, scanning the rows of stacked shipping containers. Somewhere in the shadows, the deal was happening. Li Wei joined her, his jaw set. "Stay close," he whispered. They moved quickly, weaving between crates and metal doors. In the distance, faint voices echoed, speaking in a mix of English and Mandarin. A small circle of men stood under a single hanging light. In the center, an open wooden box, and inside it the rest of the jade pieces, glowing under the dim bulb. Maria's breath caught. It wasn't just beautiful, it was alive with history. Beside the jade lay an old folded letter and a small heavy key. Li Wei's eyes softened when he saw them. "That's it," he whispered. "That's my family." But before they could take a step forward, headlights cut across the docks. The black van roared into view, skidding to a stop. The guard from the hotel jumped out, pointing toward them. "There!" he shouted. The men by the box froze, then moved to grab it. Maria didn't wait. She darted forward, Li Wei right behind her. One of the smugglers lunged at her, but she ducked low, grabbing a metal rod from the ground. She swung hard, knocking his arm away. Li Wei pushed through the chaos, his hand closing over the jade box. The guard charged, his face twisted with rage. Maria stepped between him and Li Wei, her eyes blazing. "You're not taking this," she said, her voice steady. He laughed, reaching for her shoulder. And then the sharp wail of sirens split the night. Red and blue lights flashed across the docks as police cars surrounded them. Armed officers poured out, shouting orders in both English and Mandarin. Li Wei stepped back, clutching the jade box tight. The guard tried to run, but two officers tackled him to the ground. In the confusion, Maria turned to Li Wei. "You called them?" she asked. He gave a small smile, tapping his wristwatch. "Signal sent. The moment you distracted him in the basement." The police recovered the stolen items, sealing them in protective cases. The smugglers and the guard were taken away in handcuffs. Li Wei turned to Maria, his expression softer now. "You saved my family's honor tonight," he said in Mandarin, his tone warm. Maria smiled faintly, replying in the same language. "And you reminded me of mine." As the first light of dawn touched the horizon, Li Wei walked to his sleek black car. Before getting in, he handed Maria a small envelope. Inside was not money, but a signed contract, offering her a position in his company as his personal cultural liaison. The salary was more than she had ever dreamed of. Maria looked up at him, speechless. Li Wei's smile was calm. "I need someone I can trust, someone who speaks the right language, both with words and with heart." She nodded slowly, a smile spreading across her face. "I accept," she said in perfect Mandarin. The car drove away, the wind carrying the faint scent of the sea. Maria stood at the edge of the docks, the sun rising behind her. In one night, she had gone from an invisible maid to the woman who outwitted thieves, saved a millionaire's heritage, and changed her own life forever.